So there was this time I was seated at home in the village and I saw mom's birds, the chicken. They were doing so well, they had grown, she had multiplied, so I got motivated to encourage her. I put up a chain link to the entire compound so that her birds are safe from wild animals that would occasionally come in and take the birds and go and feast on them. So to encourage her, I did a chain link the entire compound. And this motivated her. So her birds increased, and these were kienyeji chicken. They increased. She was doing brooding for herself, and yeah, it looked a good venture. So I got motivated as well, and I decided to also do that. So I went to Calro, ordered a 1-day-old improved kienyeji chicks that they told me to go and collect after 1 month. So after 1 month, I went and collected 1-day-old improved kienyeji chicks. I'd ordered 300 in number, so I came with them at home, and I improvised a brooder where I used cartons set up in one of the corners of a room that was not being used at home. And yeah, that made that to be my brooder. I got feeding troughs and water troughs for the chicks, and got some lighting. I used some solar lighting at night. The 1-day-old chicks, they feed both day and night, so I did lighting for them to be eating both at night and during the day. And for heating, I got some traditional brooder jiko that uses charcoal to warm the place. So that did for me, and I managed to raise these chicks from 1-day-old until they grew up, and it was exciting seeing them feed and take water. I was feeding them on chick mash and made sure that there was plenty of clean water for these chicks. And it was an exciting venture to see them grow, see them jump, run over and eat, feed both day and night. It was exciting. And after some 2 weeks, now they had grown wings, and now they would fly out of the brooder, the makeshift brooder that we had made for them. So it was time to think again on how to raise these 300 chicks. Now to get more space, I had to also increase them to another empty room that was available so that they can have space to run around as they eat and drink their water. So every time you'd go into the room to give them water and feeds, they would jump out of the brooder to jump onto your hands, onto the water that you are taking there, onto the feeds. And this was both exciting and frustrating at times because there were many, and we want to put their feeds, and they're jumping over, and even you can't step, even movement was a challenge. So that forced me to had no thought of constructing a house for these new birds. It was it was something that we had started out of excitement, and I didn't even have a house for them to begin with. So after this, now we decided to construct a structure now for them where they would move in after we get them out of this makeshift brooder. And now we had an immunization schedule that had been told by Calro that I should make sure that I do that. They had done day one, they had done a Merek vaccine, and that was done at the hatchery. Then on day 6 I did Newcastle, which was an eye drop. Then on day 14 we did Gumbaro, which was an eye drop. Then day 21 we also did the Gumbaro, which is in the drinking water. Then day 28 Newcastle, which was in the drinking water. Then on week 6 there was the fowlpox injection, and that was a wing stab done by our local vet. Then on week 8 I did fowlpox typhoid, which was an injection at the thigh muscle, that was done by the vet. Then on week 16 we did deworming, which was through drinking water. But again, in between here there are several vaccines that we put in water depending on the seasons. When there's some outbreak outside, when you see the birds looking dull and stuff, there are some medication that the vet would occasionally advise to be put in the water. At this time we had moved the chicks into the new house, so they had a bigger space for feeding and for playing around, and we started introducing their resting places. So on feeding program, we started off the chicks from 1 day old on chick mash that we fed them for 1 month. Then after months we transitioned them to grass mash that we fed them for almost another 2 months. Then we transitioned them to, because some of these birds were layers, so we transitioned them to layers mash, and others, the cockroach, them that had earmarked for sale, we put them on feed to fatten them up for good meat. And the feeding was very expensive. Poultry feeds are very expensive, and just relying on commercial feeds proved to be a bit tricky. So in the process I started doing formulation, my own feeds, and this was to ensure that we had some proteins, calcium and other nutrients needed for the birds to grow. So I would formulate some feeds and then mix up with commercial feeds to be able to supplement where probably in the formulated feeds there's some nutrient deficiencies. So for our formulated feeds, I would visit portion mills and get it's called maize jam, the shellings from the maize for those portion mills that do grade 1 flour. Then I would also purchase maize jam, and I would get some soya beans, and I would get some sunflower cake, and I would get some wheat bran, so just to mix up together. And then there's this waste material that comes from omena, it's called ochungo. I don't know what that means, but that's what there is some yellowish sort of I don't know, the insects or whatever that are found. It's like a waste product of omena. So I used to go and buy those in large quantities and mix up with this locally formulated feed. So I would get a quantity like a bag of that ochungo, and then get some maize, shell some maize, then add in the maize jam, the wheat bran, the soya cake, and the soya beans, and the sunflower cake to make up the meals. But when it became so expensive and the birds had grown to close to 3 months, I had to let them out because now it was no longer sustainable to keep feeding them indoors. So we let the birds out and they started also feeding just free range, like the local kienyeji bird that my mom was rearing. The good thing is that I had already done the chain link, so the compound was secure, so the birds were safe walking around the compound, feeding on their own. So we ensured that they had water during the day and some meals. Occasionally, probably lunchtime, they would come in and drink some water and go out and eat grass and other things. Then, of course, we introduced resting place for the birds, where they would hang out, and rest on, perch on, and rest during the day when it's hot. And since the birds were many, at times getting the commercial feeders and drinkers was a bit expensive. So we improvised these locally made feeds that I made from they're called rain gutters. They're the ones that I used to collect rain from the roof. So I bought some, I split them into several places and close them up well, and put them high swinging so that the bird will not step on it as they feed. As they try to step on it, it swings, then they can easily stand down and feed. And this proved to be quite economical since they would feed many birds at a go, and they also reduced fighting of the birds, because most of the time when the feeders are less than the drinkers, birds easily fight over feeds because every bird wants to feed feed, and so this that fighting. So this improvisation of these bigger and long feeding troughs was a very good idea that really helped feeding the birds, and this helps every bird to have adequate meals, and so that there's even growth. Because what I realized, there are some birds that are bully, and when they are feeding, if the feeding space is not adequate, they would easily bully others from feeding, and so you'd find that some birds which are not growing as fast as others, they have sort of standard growth, and this is not good for an economic enterprise. Another thing that was needed constantly was clean drinking water, and the 300 birds would take several liters of drinking water in a day. The good thing that we had a borehole in the compound, so it was easy to get the water. But they need a lot of drinking water because most of their feeds are dry, and from now and then they're drinking water, so you need a lot of water. The 300 birds in a day, they would drink close to 50 liters of water. Yeah, you put in the morning, you'd put in like 20 to 30 liters of water, and in the next 2-3 hours the water is finished. Then you have to put in some more in the afternoon, then again. So water was important for these birds, and you need to have clean. At 4 months, some birds were ready for meat, and by around 6 months some birds had started laying. The major challenge here was feeding and the space, because 300 birds, we had a small space to be able to raise the 300 birds, but the free range thing helped a bit, quite a lot. So I started getting back my investment in this project by selling eggs and the birds themselves. So farming is an interesting venture,